fostering that love of comics and reading because it was very hard to get my kids to read when they were younger, but they just no interest. So it was just they could read, they just didn't want to read. And so comics and the graphic novels kind of spurred their interest.
Hey everyone, my name is Kyle Wallgren and thanks for tuning in to another episode of Our Texas Town. Today our guests are Carmen and Carson Luke. They have a comic book store called Session Zero. It's right downtown in Weatherford, and we've asked them onto the show to give us a little journey through the comic book business and how that adventure is going for them. Guys, welcome onto the show.
Thank you.
So I'm a comic book fan. I grew up reading comic books. I've got a whole stack of them in my attic, but that's usually where they end up. What got you guys to bring them down from the attic and put them in the storefront?
Well, it was kind of, I guess it started with me, really. We used to do these big trips all around the United States. We've been to all 50 states by car.
Oh, wow.
Well, 48 by car, and then the other two that you can't quite get to by car. We had to figure something else out. But every time we go to a new spot, my thing would always be, we want to visit the comic book store in town and see what's up. It started with me with Star Wars, I think. I've been a huge Star Wars fan ever since I was a kid. So it just kind of went from there, and I've always just kind of been obsessed with it.
And you're just the supporting mom, or
I'm just the mom.
how did they convince you to?
Well, I enjoyed going with them and kind of also fostering that love of comics and reading because it was very hard to get my kids to read when they were younger, but they just no interest. So it was just they could read, they just didn't want to read. And so comics and the graphic novels kind of spurred their interest. I also was a teacher, a gifted teacher, and a lot of my kids liked that graphic novels where they could see the images matched with the those speech bubbles, and they really were into that. So that made it exciting for me too. But so we would always take them to the comic book stores, and it was a lot of fun. And then as he got older, he got into the game side more. So like the card games, the D&D, he played D&D, so we kind of went from there.
Okay, so you started off in education. You saw the kids in the classroom were more engaged in content that ultimately speaks to them, right?
Absolutely.
That's an industry that I'm in. My primary business is called Edsoma. We teach kids how to read using software. It's an AI tool that matches content with the user and meets them where they're at to engage in reading. And it's amazing watching, kids that don't necessarily love reading come into reading.
Yes.
How is that? Do you guys get to witness that firsthand in the store? Walk us through your store. What's the layout? What do you guys do there?
Well, we do. We have because I am so interested in fostering that love of reading, we've focused starting out with children's books. So we do have children's books that focus on like the comic side of things, like superheroes, and we have like the graphic novels for children and even chapter books as well. So we have a little stand, like as you come in our door to the right, we have like a little kids book stand and a little chair that they can sit in and read. So I want them to grab hold of the books and read them. And then as you go through the store, we have a big wall of comic books. We do have some novels as well. Carson, what do we have on that?
We have it's a lot of Brandon Sanderson stuff, like fantasy. There's Game of Thrones for the more adult audience, I guess. But we need to probably expand a little bit in our novel selection. I think we need to.
Yeah, that's for sure. But also we have like the books that are like the game, like the RPG books.
Yes, like Dungeons and Dragons, stuff like that.
So kind of, I don't even know what would be like educational books or guiding books, I guess, for the games that the people play that come in as well.
So if you were to identify right now as it sits your key demographic of the audience that you guys serve, who do you think is best fitted for the type of content that you guys are servicing right now? Who would you like to get into the store more? What's your ideal customer look like?
I think it's funny because I think it is across the board. Like, we start with families. We have a lot of families who come in and bring their kids, and they, they'll gravitate towards the books and also the Pokemon cards and things like that. And then we have like all the way up through like all ages. There are a lot of male, like the people who come out to play. I would say 75% at least guys who come to play. Like on Friday nights, we have huge, like 40 to 60 people come out on Friday night to play Magic. Most of those are guys, but the girls, and I try to really think about what the girls would like, what they want in the store as well. So we have some jewelry, we have some books, and that would draw, I guess, all kinds of people and all kinds of demographics. But what do you think, Karst?
I would say it's mostly younger guys, but it would, we probably should, like, I guess, expand. One of the early on things that I remember is we were talking about, like, getting girlfriends into, like, because girlfriends always want to, like, pull their guys out of the shop real quick whenever they go in. And so we had a discussion whenever we started ordering Beanie Babies, I think it was, where I was like, no one's going to buy Beanie Babies. And then you disagreed, and you were right. I think we've sold a lot of Beanie Babies. So yeah, that's worked out well.
Yeah, we do. We try to, and we have crystals, and I'm trying to think what all. And we have some clothing items. We have some bags, like the Loungefly bags and different things to meet different people's interests.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Like I mentioned earlier, comics and sports cards and collector's cards is something that I enjoy with my son. We collect Marvel cards. But when my daughter, so I've got 4 kids. I've got Rowdy, he's the oldest, 11. My daughter Sadie, who's 10, John 6, and Riot 3. But when Sadie Ann found out that they made Disney cards,
yes,
she was all in.
Yes.
And I've paid attention and watched online streaming rooms, because obviously that's taken off in the hobby.
Yeah.
And it seems like a lot of women are getting into Disney collector's items, which Disney's been a part of our childhood our whole lives, right? Is there an opportunity to bring in Disney type sports cards? Do you guys do custom orders? Like, how do you guys pick the type of stuff that you're bringing in? Because it's hard to get cards, You gotta be.
Well, to address the Disney specifically, the Disney cards, the game that is played that has the Disney cards is called Lorcana. And we have a group that comes out on Sundays to play Lorcana. And so it's an actual card game where you sit with an opponent and play. But then we'll pull in, like he said, the tie, Beanie Babies, and we have the bags and the keychains and all of that stuff to go with those Lorcana cards. And I've noticed too, I thought it was a really good idea. One of the families they bought the sets of cards so that they can take them to Disney World with them and have the characters autograph the cards.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so that's fun. And as far as choosing what we bring into the store, all customer based. Like, it's from the very minute that we opened, that's all that I wanted to do is listen to what they told us. They guided us every bit of the way. So I asked my customers, what do you want, and how do you want the store to look? What do you want to play? What kinds of activities do we need to be doing and focusing on? And they will let me know. They're a great group of customers who are regulars, and they will tell us which direction to take.
Yeah, I think the hobby collecting industry is a very loyal audience group. Once they find a place where the vibe or the environment is what they're looking for, they levitate to that. I know, like I said, we do a lot of it on TikTok Shop. But there's rooms that I prefer just based off the conversations, the people that's in there, obviously the products they're selling, but I have really great attention and watch that. You mentioned that you guys do game nights. Walk us through what a game night looks like when you guys do them, and what games you guys consistently play.
So on Sundays, as I mentioned, we do Lorcana. We play. So we have a group that comes in the mornings and plays that, and then in the afternoon we play Yu-Gi-Oh. So we have a group that comes in. It's every one of the groups that we have their own communities that kind of build and connect, and they make friends. Or some of them were friends before. Some of them their friends through the process of what's going on at the store. So again, Yu-Gi-Oh! On Sundays, and then on Saturdays we have all kinds of groups. We'll have One Piece. We have a lot of Magic groups that come in. We also use Discord a lot to connect people, and so they'll go on our Discord and say, hey, I'm going to shop right now. You want to come up there and meet? So that's like just kind of spur of the moment games that pop up.
Mm-hmm.
But then on Monday nights we do Pokemon, and we have a group that comes up and plays Pokemon. They do a trade and play, so they'll trade cards for a little bit, and then they'll play the games, and in kind of tournament style where they're competing for prizes. And then on Wednesdays we have Warhammer Wednesdays, and that's a really fun game because Warhammer is a game that they play with little miniatures that they build, and then they paint the miniatures, and then they play. You could probably explain.
It's like a war. So yeah, there's like a terrain on a map, and then they place the miniatures, and each miniature has different rules for like how it does combat with the other ones, and then you basically just fight until one is left standing.
So there's a lot of guys will come in and they'll set up at tables all over the store, and they'll roll the dice and play the games, and they'll bring in their terrain, they'll bring in their miniatures, or they'll use the ones that we have as well. So they play for several hours, and then they come in at different times. Now Friday night is our big night, and Friday night is Magic the Gathering, and so they'll come in, and we usually do Commander, but there's different formats. Thank you. Different formats to play Magic, but again, usually on Fridays it's Commander. We have Standard and then we have drafts and things. But they'll come in and they will at 7:15 is when we start. We have again probably 40 to 60 people usually on a Friday night, and we have tables. We have 11 tables. Sometimes we have to set up more, but we match them, we pair them, and then it kind of goes like Swiss format. It goes down to who the winner is, and a lot of times, or when it's more casual, we'll have one table winner, and they'll play for a big prize at the end.
I think that's how I got into collecting sports cards, was kind of the same format as what you guys are talking about. We had a local card store, and they played Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
So that was how I got into Star Wars. When you guys got here, I told you I still have an entire set, both the light side and the dark side of the Star Wars from the 90s. I've started to look for like the 1977 Star Wars cards. What most people don't realize, and Rowdy, my son doing this, he's a huge Pokemon fan and likes to open boxes and collect them. What a lot of people don't realize is the value behind these things. On Golden Auctions right now, there is a PSA 10 holographic Charizard base card for sale. That card will probably do close to $1 million in sales. How many moms do you know that have thrown out their kids' Pokemon cards straight into the trash?
Absolutely.
And these things are super valuable. One Piece, you guys mentioned that. That's another new product or newer product that's coming to light. There's cards in there worth, $15,000, $20,000 in a pack. Do you guys get a lot of people in there strictly for the games? Do you guys do a lot of collectors? What do you see the approach is when people are coming in there for the most part?
How many calls do you think a day do we get for people asking if they can sell their cards?
Oh yeah, yes. Collectors want to sell. Yeah, so we sell and buy cards as well, and people who come in to play and people who come in to collect, and some of them do both. But I think every day we have people who come in, buy the cards, sit down at the table, they'll open the cards, and they'll get super excited. And we post also what they will pull that are great pulls. Can you talk about some of the good pulls that we've had or that you've had?
I just a few days ago, I opened a Magic set. It's the new Tarkir set. I pulled a Ugin that's worth, I thought it was originally $60, but I think it's like $40 now.
There's a lot of pulls that are $40 we had one other day, $150 card, a Magic card, so they get really excited about that. And sometimes they want to put it in their binder and be really proud of it, and sometimes they just want to sell it back to us so that somebody else can.
Whenever, In a Strawberry Master, remember that came out? There was a day whenever there was like 3 Edgar Markov pulls in one day, and everyone was just freaking out. It's like, what's happening?
There's
definitely part of the game.
There's almost a collectible card for almost every sport, hobby, activity. We mentioned Disney. There's F1 this year. I'll take you to my room afterwards and show you how serious I am about collecting. But this summer, in one day, I pulled 3 101 Superfractors in F1. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that F1, but the biggest card in the hobby was an Oscar Piastri portrait autograph. And it was one of the cards that I pulled. It sold online for over $53,000.
Oh, wow. That's good. Amazing.
So that day alone, and buying cards can be expensive if you're getting into like higher end football. It can be multi-thousands for a pack. Your average Pokemon card, where do they start? What does it cost for a pack, a booster box, a hobby box, or Magic in that same format? Kind of walk people through what that looks like.
Well, there are kind of different tiers of packs. With Magic, for example, you have your normal play boosters. Those go anywhere from like $5 to $7. And then you have collector boosters. Collector boosters can get up there because they're filled with much rarer cards. Those are $25 generally, $15 to $25 roundabout. But for most cards, just general packs, I'd say $5 to $7 or $8 most of the time.
One of the things that's happening in the industry right now with Pokemon specifically is blowing up, and it's very, very hard to keep product in the store because they're not sending it to us. And so, like an ETB, an Elite Trainer box usually runs about $50, but right now it's on the market. I mean, it can be $200 because people can't get them. And so we really try very hard to make sure if we can get it from our distributor for the price that it's supposed to be, then we're going to sell it at the expected price. Then you have to be careful about scalpers as well. You don't want scalpers buying your product and then reselling it for more. But it's huge right now. So we try to keep our prices around market value. Either sometimes it's a little less, sometimes it's a little more, depending on what we can get it for. But it's it.
That stuff goes up and down every day, like how the wind blows.
Yes.
Football is something that I'm super passionate about, but it's all the same hobby. Quarterbacks are usually the big chase in sports cards or in football cards. You have a good game, your product goes up. You have a bad game, your product goes down. With gaming or like Pokemon, Magic, that stuff, what sets the value of those products before they come out? Because it's not like a Pokemon's going to have a good game. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So how do you guys follow those trends, and what sets the value on those cards as they're coming out of the packs?
Well, the main thing we go off of is TCG Player. That's kind of like the standard for all game shops.
For market value.
Yeah, for market value. You go on TCG Player and look up the card. There's a lot of different things that can affect the price, though. Sometimes it's if a card was reprinted in a new set that just came out. Sometimes it's how the cards affect the gameplay. If they're too powerful, they'll get banned. There are cards that have been banned like before they've been released. So, and it's really funny because whenever a card gets banned, they'll release like a new ban list every month or so. And whenever a card gets banned, the next day all the players will be in like talking about it and being upset about it. But yeah, so generally those two kind of things are big factors in what will set the value. I've been in the middle of like trading cards with someone, and like I'll refresh the page on TCG Player and the card will change value. I've literally watched it jump in price as I'm like trading it.
So marketing too from the companies, from Wizards or from and the information that they're putting out and what they have to offer. Sometimes, like Pokemon recently has released sets that they didn't produce enough of, so of course that's going to make them more valuable at that time until they produce a lot more. So
you guys also mentioned that you do comic books. The comic books have been around since the beginning of time. I was showing Rowdy. We were looking at the Superman comic books last night on Golden. Was it last night or the night before? Anyways, a Superman first edition comic book is 5 figures now. Do you guys get a lot of people in looking for products? Do you help people source rare items? Walk us through your comic book side of the store.
We do. We have all the new releases. The comic books in that industry, they release on every Wednesday. So every Wednesday we have a big rack of new comic releases, and then from there they go onto the wall for the back issues. But we do have people come in for like the old Sergeant Rock and some of the older comics that they collect because they remember them from when they were a kid.
Nostalgia purposes.
Yes, absolutely. So we will buy some, but I will say that we have a lot more people wanting to sell their old collections than we have room for. So, we suggest that they go online and look up the value before they bring them in, because a lot of them don't hold their value. A lot of the ones that hold their value are the ones with the first appearance of Punisher. So, we try to keep collections of all kinds of comics for different kinds of buyers. For the ones who want to read them, for the ones who love the artwork, for the ones who enjoy following the storylines, and for the ones who are collectors.
And there's so many different variables, you can't carry them all. You'd be the size of the entire square just to hold all the different types of brands or action figures. So obviously you guys have to work on what works for you. Where are you guys located, and what are your guys' store hours?
We are on 109 North Main Street in Weatherford, Texas. Our store hours generally open at 11.
So throughout the week we're open 11 to 8 is our general hours, but on Friday nights we're open from 11 to midnight, 1 o'clock. We were there till 1:30 last night. So on Saturdays we close at 5. We're supposed to close at 5 because I just want one early day, but we end up not ever usually closing at 5. And then on Sundays we open at 1 to 7 on Sundays, and we're right downtown, right on the north side of the square, on the west side of the street. So yeah.
And how long have you guys been open for?
We opened last March, so we've been open just over a year. We opened on York Avenue. Very quickly outgrew that space. We were having to move all of our merchandise several times a week so that we could play our games, and so we needed a larger space. We moved over to the place on Main Street in August, so we've been there ever since. And still growing. We still have people tease us that we need a bigger space again. And we have a couple of really cool cool features in our store. We have a well that was built in the 1800s, and the well, they kind of discovered it when they were remodeling the building. Mm-hmm. And some of the people, the locals might know it. It used to be the Pink Pony tea room, I think. And so that's where ours was. But when that establishment went away and they were remodeling, pulled up the floor, they saw a round impression in the ground, they started digging and found an old well from the 1800s. Oh, wow. So the owner was very wise and covered it in glass, so that now we have a glass well that you can walk over the glass and you can look down in it and see a piece of Weatherford history, which we think is very cool. And then we also have a map on the wall where if you have people from out of town that from out of state that are visiting and they want to put a pin in our map, then they can come and put a pin in our map. And we have people from a lot of places all over, even out of the country, who have visited our shop. So
that's super cool. If there's anything else that you guys want to tell the audience about your store, or something you might have coming up that you're trying to get people into, what would that be?
I think a couple of things that I'm thinking of. First of all, we have space that we can, we've had church groups come in for game night. So we have, it's a space where people can come together for whatever reason. So it's not just what we do now, but what people might think of that might be of interest. Homeschool groups, anything like that, who want to come in and use that space should come in and talk to us. I think it's a place for families. And I also think it's a place, I've heard a lot of people saying about our shop that, there are, it's a place where people come together who maybe aren't comfortable in social spaces, where they can come in and meet people and easily connect with people to play games and not feel socially uncomfortable. It's a place where they can come together and make new friends. And we've had people connect, and they'll go hang out at each other's houses now or whatever, So they make those great connections. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I agree. Do we have any events coming up?
Yeah, we do, but it's so many. We have a lot of. Our website, it's session0weatherford.com, and it has an events calendar, and we have all kinds of events going up. So
cool. Well, we'll share the link in the description of the video. If you guys haven't checked out Session 0 yet, make sure you head down, let them know you found out about their store through the podcast. We'd love to know if this podcast is reaching the right people. But Carmen and Carson, thank you guys for jumping on today. We look forward to seeing your store.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.